Yeah, their TTP's changed. Force ours, force ours to change. It's kind of a back and forth of like cat and mouse. Like they try to kill us. We don't want to die, so we try to kill them. They don't want to die, so they change how they try to kill us.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just that forever until you leave the country.
So I don't know. And unfortunately, before you guys left country, you did lose a few guys in a car bomb attack. Was that something that was a threat before that? Suicide bombers, car bombers, anything like? Was that?
Those were a known threat, but it had been a known threat for 7 months, and it's like, hey, Bolo, be on the lookout for a white pickup. It's like, oh, okay. There's only 1 million of those out here.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, it's hard to. If it's always a threat, it becomes hard to take seriously. And if the best you can give me is like a yellow sedan or a white truck, it's like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
Which one?
That's like saying look out for the trash piles because it could be an IED. It's like, okay.
So that was a mission where like a team had to escort a civilian to a food processing plant or something in the ground, a few, 10 miles away from the ground defense area. And on the way back, the convoys, they're like a mile from the entry control point of the base, I think on the north side. And there's like a car staged like on this little side access road. And as the convoy passes, what we all thought is they specifically targeted the Marine vehicle and it was a VBIED. I don't remember the tonnage of HME or homemade explosive they had, but it destroyed the Max Pro, which is like a huge up-armored truck with like 6 wheels. And I mean, it's just a beast. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the guy, I mean, it was definitely calculated. It wasn't like an opportunity thing. But it was a weird little kind of side mission where we're going to, to keep the food safe at the base. Some guy has to go check it, the source, and then he has to be escorted. So like, I was like, hey, team 4 is going to, escort this dude at this time, and just in standard patrol. This was in the day, which was rare for us. We did most of the stuff at night. But yeah, that was just we did stuff like that now and then, but that was regular patrol. Like, it wasn't anything super crazy, and we did know about those threats, but not that threat, that time, that
not
day,
specific.
that far,
Yeah, that's like when they told us to, in country, they're like, hey, there's going to, look out for yellow jugs. All the IEDs are in yellow jugs. It's like, dude, there's yellow jugs everywhere. That's their cooking oil. And then when they're done using it for cooking oil, they use it for water or they use it for whatever. Like, you just can't, like you said, if everything's a threat, then it no longer becomes a threat. You're just like, whatever, man. Like, I can't do anything about this. That's pretty wild, though, that they had a vehicle set up, just kind of ready to go like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he drove, if I recall, I mean, it's probably maybe like 100 or 200 yards at most, like from stage to just bang. And I remember I was walking, I was going to eat chow, as we call it in the Marine Corps. I try to stay away from that jargon when I can, but I see this billow of smoke popping up from like, about a mile away, and I hear on my radio, JTAC to the BDOC, and I'm like, oh shit, so I just sprint over there, and we see we got a feed on it, looking at it, can't get radios with them, and it's like, what just happened? So we spin up QRF. That was my week for the COC, so I sent, our other team of 3 joins the QRF because we had to have a JTAC out, and I'm in the COC, and we are just reaping aircraft from all over the all over the combined joint operating area, like 20 high of like platforms. I still don't even know what they do, just like, who are you? What do you have? But that became a madhouse because we sent QRF out there, and then there was, they got into it on the ground with fighters. So that became like they went to go recover the vehicle and the guys, and it became like this all night drawn out, what the hell is going on, firefight and we got the medevac birds out there, and it was a mess, man. It was a crazy night for sure. And you're getting names over the radio of like what happened, or like, who's not accounted for, and I just remember writing these names down, and like it was surreal and sobering when, yeah, I mean, it was a bad night, but it really. And it sucks. It was like right at the end. We were like a couple weeks away, and like we were ripping out like the next week type of thing, and it was just like, of course, this happens right at the end. But
so, you're talking about during the recovery, it was like an all-night process. Like, what were you seeing? Was it a mass group of fighters, or were they just kind of picking at the guys that were at the site throughout the night, or can you kind of go into any of that?
There's different accounts. Guys on the ground saw certain things and swear to it. And from my view, I saw certain things and I didn't see certain things. So we had, the other JTACs out there. I sourced him some Apaches, give them to him, and he does some gun runs. I've got Hog, I got some A10s where I'm just running shows of force, just low and continuous right over, trying to spread people out. And we had some F-16s on, and like, so I get some Apaches a little bit later in the night, and there's PID, my Target Engagement Authority, which is my the commander, the one-star general. At this point, everybody's in the room. Like the COC becomes packed with humans. Everybody. Yeah, you got lawyers and doctors and
everybody that wants to just come in and watch. I hate that.
Yeah, and I'm talking to like 40 airplanes and like it was nuts. But so we're looking at these guys, see them stashing some weapons, and the general's like, "Those are good targets," and he's like. Because I mean, I've got a 9-line ready. I've already briefed the bird. I've got him at a good like attack angle, and we're ready to go. Because we've been watching these guys. I didn't see him shoot a weapon or anything, but the intel and the boss are like, yeah, prosecute. So, I mean, we ran some attacks on that crew, but I never saw him shoot type of deal. But so it was weird because we got like 1,000 feeds up, and you can't manage them all at the same time. And you're getting reporting from the ground. And so it becomes really chaotic in terms of information flow, what to focus on. You're just triaging what needs to happen right now, who needs to know it, why does it need to happen. But yeah, they were in a firefight on the ground for an extended period of time, and then they had to, like, they couldn't recover the bodies because the fire was so bad. Like, all the gas in the Max Pro and the gas cans on the back were obviously in flames, and they didn't burn out for hours. And they used, like, I think over 20 fire extinguishers trying to get them out, and it didn't put a dent in it. This thing just kept going, and they weren't gonna leave it there. So they just kind of hunkered down, and that kind of caused a scene. And so it just became and then it was too hot to open the doors after that thing had been burning for hours. So had to get like Afghan fire out there in the middle of all this, like spray it down. And it was just, just a shit show. But yeah, they took contact, returned fire on the deck, and then we prosecuted targets from the COC for them, and then we gave them some air, and they did some gun runs on what they were seeing as well.
In the moment, you said you were like writing down the zap numbers or the kill numbers or the names. I'm not sure what you were getting, but in the moment, were you able to like process what was going on, or was it something you were just kind of doing your job?
I mean, it happened so slow and so fast. Like, it was a long night, but it was like your adrenaline is just open choke, blood's going, and it's like, okay, yeah, you go into job mode. Like, feelings don't matter. There's like 30 aircraft in the sky, got dudes on the ground that need help. What can we do? And let's start doing those things. So we would just start piecemeal at a time. Like, okay, get these guys out of the way, bring this medevac in here, or call the medevac first. We give them the medevac from the COC, send them, transfer them over to my JTAC on the ground, start running shows of force, because that was something we got as a TTP. We had a lot of downed like drones, and then like the scavengers would come and like try to strip the parts. So you do shows of force, they all run away, and they start slowly coming back. You do another one. So that was like a TTP we started doing, and it worked pretty well just to keep people away, at least in those scenarios. But yeah, man, it just became like prioritize and execute. Like, how can we help? Do it. Okay, and just stop thinking, stop feeling, just execute what has to happen, and it went. I hate to say it went well, but I mean, we got a lot of work done and coordination done in that pretty bad environment. But
it's
there's like a moment or two you're just like, dang. But
it's just exactly what we were talking about at the beginning about how some guys just can't do the job, because it's so stressful. And there's, like you said, you have all this information just incoming, and that priorities of work. What is the most important thing that I need to get done right now? What is that? Get it done. Where is everybody at? Like trying to figure out what's actually going on. And then, like you said, in that kind of situation, I'm sure, especially towards the latter part of the war where there weren't as many ground forces, if you call out like a TIC or, troops in contact or something like that, you're going to get stacked with a shit ton of air, just like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you have to be a pro, when you like understand like the JTAC world and stuff like that. You have to come into it with like a mindset where I don't know that's why when I say I get nervous, I would get nervous every time I got on the radio. It's because it's like, you got to understand the seriousness of what's happening and why it's important, especially in training. That OP cast becomes very like, okay, let's get my control. So I got my check in the box and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But although you can never train for a scenario like what you went through, fully understand that, you got to at least stress people to a point where you can see how they can handle something similar to that. That's just, I can't imagine like that stress of, I didn't lose in my deployments. We lost a couple guys on my 3-6 deployment. But they were with a different battalion that was attached to us. I never personally lost anyone while I was in country that I knew. I know Jason Kalo was one of the guys from 10th Marines that was killed, but he was in country and I wasn't. So I can't imagine what that was like in the moment, knowing that these are your own dudes and trying to get all that work done, man. I mean, I don't know. So shout out to you guys for like working through that and doing what you have to do, because that's a tough task to undertake,
Yeah, I never really thought about it like that, but it was rough. Like I said, there were 60 of us, and these are guys we patrolled with every week and worked out with, did the work up with, and it's a big.
Did it feel? Was it satisfying?
I'm doing this.
Was it satisfying for you to like get a control, like when all that was happening? Like to kind of get maybe punch back a little bit?
Like, for sure. Like, definitely. Like it's like, definitely. I mean, you don't like to say it, but I mean, it is. So, like, these dudes just took 3 souls that I, knew and loved from this earth, and like, they're not walking away. Like we're gonna get these guys, and it was. It's not like an ultimately satisfying gesture and doesn't make anything really better in the end. But in the moment, it's like, hey, at least I didn't get away type of thing. But
yeah,
I don't think it's a weird thing. But yeah, definitely in the moment, you're like, good. Like I can rest a little bit easier tonight. But still, it doesn't change what happened, which is kind of the shitty part. But
how did this? Was this your only deployment, your first deployment, right?
Yep. Chump.
How did this kind of change your mentality of the Marine Corps, or maybe the war in Afghanistan, or just deploying in general?